And I realized that at the time, my school, in addition to a lot of medical school and training, just didn't prepare us enough in the realms of nutrition, lifestyle prevention, optimal wellness, things like that. And I think that when you inform someone and when you educate them, it goes way beyond them just giving them prescriptions. What is important in your life, right? Is it, putting family first? Is it putting food, nutrition, health first? Is it putting, everyone is different. Things that are not that important, why are you doing them?
That was Dr. Colin Zhu, board certified in family practice, OMT, and lifestyle medicine. He's really passionate about the intersection of lifestyle, medicine, nutrition, and food. Dr. Zhu is also trained as a chef and a health coach, truly a multi-passionate person, and we get into a lot of different topics on how it is and what it really means to thrive in life. And this is a subject that is very near and dear to my heart because I truly believe we're all put here for a specific reason, and no one can do what you do like you do it. We talk about the importance of whole food, plant-based nutrition and how it's made a difference in his medical practice, as well as ways that we can enhance our self-care, our emotional, and our physical well-being, and really creating a mindset to thrive in your life. I think you're going to be really inspired by this conversation and pumped to go out there and do what it is that you want to do, reclaim your freedom. That's what I am all about, and I love encouraging people. So let's get into this conversation with Dr. Colin.
My name is Dr. Colin Zhu. I'm also known as TheChefDoc online on my social media platforms. And I'm basically a double board certified family medicine trained physician. I also specialize in lifestyle medicine. I specialize in culinary medicine, and I am whole food plant-based. Originally from New Jersey, born and raised in the Northeast. So I'm a Jersey boy at heart, and I am on the West Coast in Southern California now. So I've been raised by a traditional Chinese mother. She practices TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And she really taught me the values of compassion, empathy, looking at the person or the patient in a very holistic manner. And so she, really gave me these values, and I went into medical school, thinking that I was going to blend Eastern and Western philosophies. And unbeknownst to me, when I was following my mentors and predecessors, I realized that no matter what walked through our door, whether it was like a cough or back pain, there was always some sort of chronic lifestyle related component or risk factor, whether it's like heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. And I realized that at the time, my school, in addition to a lot of medical school and training, just didn't prepare us enough in the realms of nutrition, lifestyle prevention, optimal wellness, things like that. And I just took it upon myself to, after I graduated, to make a lot of detours in my life and just to kind of enhance my professional career and repertoire, armamentarium, so to speak. And since then, I got certified in health coaching, went to culinary school, and I use those tools in education to publicly speak, hold demos, workshops, and just really coach and counsel my patients on a very different level. And my goal is to be able to kind of impact and inspire as many facets as possible. So
I think that's wonderful. And I think that, just picking up on that early on as you were going through medical training is so perceptive, because there is this whole aspect of Western medicine that is lacking in those full lifestyle holistic practices. So what is one of the first things that you started doing with patients that you realized, aha, I think I'm on to something here? Can you think of anything?
I would probably say, well, I mean, like it's, to me, it's you can get the education, right? You can get the
Mhm.
training. What's nice about that, it's a very traditional, already, laid out infrastructure, right?
Mhm.
What is less, I guess, what is less the ability to really grasp is really connecting with the person across the room from you, the opposite
Mhm.
person,
Mhm.
and establishing that rapport. A lot of times, healthcare, you pretty much have to really see the patient, come up with a diagnosis, a treatment plan, anything that they need to kind of reconcile within pretty much like 10 minutes. And that's not including documentation and all the other background stuff that we do. So,
Mhm.
in a way, being able to connect, establish a rapport, someone you've never even met at times, strangers, for them to share vulnerabilities, things that they wouldn't even tell their partner, within that kind of visit, and be able to treat them with care and compassion is very not that easy to do, and it takes a certain type of personality, skill set, perception, like you talked about, being able to, establish that. So, I knew that, from the get-go, I had this natural ability to do so, and,
Mhm.
to be able to teach as well. The Latin form of, of to doctor or doctore is to teach ultimately. And I learned it very early on that I really enjoyed doing that. And I think that nothing really replaces education. And I think that when you inform someone and when you educate them, it goes way beyond, them just giving them prescriptions, or,
Mhm.
for, you, Michelle, just giving them, showing them recipes. It's really giving them tools that they can go, deeper. And yeah, that's one of the things that I found out pretty early. And I've used that to creatively, come up with different ways of connecting with others.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And so, where along the lines did kind of a whole food plant based diet come in for you personally? And is it something that you recommend to your patients?
Yeah, that's a good question. So growing up, Chinese in a Chinese household, I'm a first generation immigrant child. And so both my parents came in the early 80s.
Mhm.
And I was very lucky and fortunate that both of them cooked. So I was very familiar in and out of the kitchen. And when I went into, culinary school, it wasn't, my culinary school was, unique, where it wasn't grounded, solely on the French technique. It was health supportive. It was already plant based. Very, very pioneering school at the time. Led by Amarine Colbin. She was a PhD, and I just basically knew that plants was the way. But growing up, we ate everything. The
Yeah.
Chinese is all about harmony, balance. So we ate everything in equal portions, like veggies and grain, seafood, meat, things like that.
Mhm.
And the transition wasn't that hard for me when I transitioned in 2014, after my first marathon. And the main reason for me at the time was I read a lot about it, and having gone really, really deep into the research, and there was just mountains of research dating back to like 1990, where whole food plant-based lifestyle was able to reverse heart disease. That was in 1990. And what shocked me was it wasn't headline news. And
Yeah.
so, for me, going, really, really deeper into it, I realized that, my overall performance, I recovered a lot quicker. I just
Mhm.
basically had like joint pain, back pain, things like that. I had some like GI distress, some bloating. And when I transitioned, I recovered a lot, quicker. And I stopped dairy in '09, when I followed my first integrative doc,
Mhm.
for shadowing purposes. And so all these different things just added up. And then when I realized that, you know, a lot of doctors, nowadays, a lot of patients, studies and surveys still show that, patients still go to their doctors for, really the information, that they really want to go to their own doctors to say like, hey, is this still, okay, is this still the
Mhm.
best recommendations? They still look to us, right? Even though they Google everything before they come to us first. That's the only thing that's different, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And so I took it upon myself that, in order to make practicing medicine more effective, you really have to lead by example. And so, I really, just practice what I preach. I don't really espouse anything that I don't really try myself.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure that, ultimately patients are safe, patients are informed, and it's really about empowering them to make the right choices for themselves. How one person lives is not the same way as another person lives,
Mhm.
right? And so you got to be able to respect that and meet them where they're at. So yeah.
I think that's great, and I think meeting them where they're at is so important because if you give somebody, you need to do this, 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 and this. I'll see you in 6 months. They're going to abandon ship because they don't really know how to make it work for where they are right now. But if you say, okay, I see that your cholesterol is high. I see that from this blood work, you've got this thing coming down the road. How do you feel about possibly, starting to focus on 4 meals a week that don't contain meat or not going out to Burger King? How do you feel about that? And people being able to transition at a pace that is sustainable for them, I think is so, so key. So
Mhm.
something that I love, all of the information that you post on Instagram, and you have your own podcast as well. You talk about thriving, and it's right back there behind you. So what made you so passionate about helping others thrive as opposed to just go through life surviving and just kind of getting by?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So in my personal life, and also my professional life, I started getting the traveling bug really, really early. When I was a child, growing up in the Northeast, growing up in Jersey, my first experiences of traveling was taking road trips
Mhm.
from. For anyone that's listening from the East Coast, you have I-95, and just driving that down all the way to Florida. That was our summers,
Yeah.
visiting Disneyland, and I had family, right outside of Orlando. And it was really, really fun. And, growing up, I was really, humbled and blessed to, travel, different parts of the world. And I'm not sure if what my my parents' intention was. I think it was just merely to, just have family vacations. But
Mhm.
what I took from that, and how I applied it, later in my life was, the real education is really being out there in the world. The real education was, going to different cultures, different countries, and just observing how other people live, how other people talk, how other people do things. And it was
Mhm.
really fascinating to me that, even though they do different things differently, they live their lives differently, it works for them.
Mhm.
And, they not only, survive, but thrive as well in their respective way.
Mhm.
And it was just really, really cool, to see. And so over my lifetime, I've been able to touch 35 countries. I've touched every continent. And professionally, I've pretty much see patients from all over. I practiced in 4 different states. I was a traveling physician when I started off my career.
Oh, cool.
And it was really, really cool. My first work assignment, I was in North Vegas. I was on an Indian health reservation, and
Yeah.
just, treating, the local tribe there. I went to a VA, Veterans Affairs
Mhm.
hospital setting in New Orleans. I saw patients literally from every war you can imagine. I went to Seattle, and I took care of refugees in a community, outpatient setting. And then I ultimately landed in California, starting off serving underserved Latino community. So I just crossed paths with a lot of different people,
Mhm.
and I realized that, I had these like light bulb moments and just really deep thought provoking conversations and these epiphanies along the way. And I decided to really capture that. I just said, why don't I just put this pen to paper? I wrote a book about it. And I really, really want to help in my own way to help people thrive, because life is short. The pandemic has really taught us that life is precious, life is very fragile. And
Mhm.
so to me, is if you don't really speak your truth, live your, live your life in a very authentic manner and really share your gifts, no matter what that is, and be as creative, and express yourself the best way you can. To me, it's not really fulfilling your own human potential, right?
Yes.
Michelle, have done a great job in terms of expressing yourself. It comes through, and people really can feel that, right?
Mhm.
People know how they, it's not about what they say, it's about how you make them feel, right?
Yeah.
And so, for me, I've done my best to be able to live in a very authentic manner. So it's been very atypical. I've lived a very non-traditional life as a physician, as a son, as a Chinese person. Very atypical. And so there was no roadmap laid out in front of me. I had to really carve out my own path. So yeah, thriving, helping others to thrive is a very important mission, for me. So.
I love that because I do think that a lot of times, when you get in the cycle of busyness and life moves at such a radically fast pace these days, and you just think, okay, well, I'll get to my dreams tomorrow, or, this isn't important right now. I got to pay the bills. But the thing is, we do have a very short amount of time here on earth, and all we all have a purpose within to do something. That passion inside of you, if you're listening to this, is something that is very important, and you need to follow after that, because there is no one except for you who has the exact gifts and talents and experiences that you have, that is able to help or inspire or do something in the way that you can do it. And I think that personally, my mom has been dealing with a lot of health problems lately, and I have had kind of those moments a lot lately where I've been realizing, gosh, life is very short. Things can turn on a dime, and you don't really know what you have. So if you are scared, or if you're thinking pushing things down on the back burner, now's the time. Now's the time to really do it, because we are meant for so much more than just to survive. I really resonate with what you say about thriving. And I think that it does come in a nutritional standpoint, but it also comes emotionally, mentally, financially. All those pillars of holistic health are so important. And I think that I just spoke to another guest where she was speaking about being able to reflect back and look at the stages or all the areas of your life, and being able to kind of just honestly put them on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you feeling about your relationships? If your marriage is kind of going under, like, now's the time. Now's the time to start working on that, looking at all those areas. So um, can I know that you tell us the name of your book, first of all.
Yeah, it's called Thrive Medicine.
Okay.
How to cultivate your desires and elevate your life. And it's kind of like I really enjoy personal development,
Mhm.
self-improvement,
Me
self-empowerment.
too. Yeah.
And I've really dedicated like more than a decade, on it. And yeah, I just wrote this book, very quick read, translated in Spanish, narrated my first audiobook.
Nice.
And I self-published it. It's a really fun process to be able to write. Nothing that I thought that I was going to do. I pretty much like failed every like English class growing up. And I was like, who am I to write? And
Who are
so
you
it was a
not to
fun,
write?
yeah, exactly. And I really enjoyed the creative process, and it was a short read. It's pretty much half memoir, half, self-empowerment. There's
Mhm.
journal pages there, there's action steps. I really enjoy just, just call to action. It's like if something is going on, ask those important questions, and, just having the time. I think a lot of people, we live such a fast-paced life like you talk about, and so busy that we have to carve out time for
Totally.
solitude.
Mhm.
We have to carve out time just for peace, right? And I realize, over my time here on earth, is that peace is really such a rarity, right?
Yes.
So in order to cultivate that, you kind of have to have systems in place. You have to have, you have to put it on your schedule, right? So what
Mhm.
I do personally
Yeah.
is before my day starts, I go out, for a morning walk. There's a park right across from where I live,
Mhm.
and I put my phone down. I make some coffee and I go out and, I go out for like maybe 30, 40, 45 minutes. And that's my time, to
Mhm.
be able to disconnect, shut off all distractions, listen to nature. I'm a really huge, proponent of being in nature and
Mhm.
how Mother Nature, gives back so much. It
Yes.
allows me to process, during sleep. That's when the body's able to like reintegrate and it's kind of like Tetris, to put pieces back together. New ideas form, how people like, come up with ideas when, in the shower or like when they're just driving themselves. It's really time where, you just shut things off, right?
Mhm.
So it's a great book. It empowers you, for, just getting your life from here to there. So yeah, it's available everywhere bookstores are sold. So
Awesome. So if somebody is listening to this and they're thinking, I know I need this in order to actually get my head in the game and do what it is I actually want to do, but I'm so overwhelmed right now and I wake up and I'm already behind the clock. My kids are screaming. I go to work, I pick up my kids, I take them to the activities, I'm doing dinner, I watch Netflix for an hour and then I go to sleep. What are some actionable tips? I have some, but I'd love to hear from you. What are some actionable tips that you can give somebody who's just like, I don't know how to start this process to be able to get that peace and centering for myself to be able to figure out the next step for myself? What would you
yeah.
give?
Yeah. So two pieces would be, prioritize and delegate.
Mm,
So number one is prioritize. I think as Americans, we're easily can become very, very busy
mhm.
without actually being productive, right? It's
Totally.
super, super, super easy now, especially with an information age and social media age. And number one is prioritize, meaning that what is important in your life, right? Is it putting family first? Is it putting food, nutrition, health first? Is it putting everyone is different, every
Mhm,
individual is different, every family is different. If you do this for yourself, for your family, that's one thing. If you can do this with your partner, you have two co-captains leading the ship, right?
mhm,
So it's really about sitting down, prioritizing what is necessary and what is not really necessary and what is a nice to have. And so you kind of have to, figure out what takes up your time once you prioritize that and put it into a structure, putting, that into a calendar. So that way, things that are not that important, why are you doing them? You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm,
why are you doing things that are not priority number one, two, or three, for example, right? Number two is delegate. I think we have this mentality that, we can do it all. There's a great book called The One Thing,
Yeah.
and it really talks about how multitasking is not really a thing. It's very detrimental, and then we're not really productive. And we do something called task switching, and so computers do this as well. Even though you think that a computer does all these different things, at the same time, it really doesn't. What it does is it task switch, so it does one thing at a time, just at a very, very high speed. And that's what we do, right? So try not to multitask, and also delegate. So I would probably say if you really enjoy something, you're really passionate about something, focus that, focus your skill set and talents, towards that. And things that you're not as passionate, I would say delegate it to someone else, whether it's a neighbor, a supporting partner, a friend, a grandparent, just delegate it, see if you can offload it, because the more you can offload, the less of these, juggling plates that you're doing, these spinning plates that you're doing, trying to use every limb to do everything. And I think it's noble to think about it that way, to want to do it all. But you're going to find so much more relief, that you can, try to delegate and offload.
I think those are very important points. And kind of piggybacking off of that is I think when you look at your day and you prioritize, is what you're doing lining up with what you actually value in life? And if it's not, then maybe that is something that needs to be lower or completely off your priorities list. And also, I can say from personal experience and then just talking to friends and clients and things like that, when you feel overwhelmed by something, when you're able to delegate it and when you're able to schedule it. Scheduling seems very boring to somebody who wants to be spontaneous, but when you're able to schedule things, this block, this hour, I am working on this and this alone. Gosh, you get so much done in an hour as opposed to, like you said, multitasking and being
Yeah.
scatterbrained all over the place. So I think those are beautiful places to start. And I love everything you had to say about that. I totally agree. I love the One Thing book. And I'm huge on starting your morning in a place that, you know, you get your head in the right space and you have that walk outside. All of those are so important. So having
Yeah.
that peace, you know, whether you live alone or you have a giant family that you live with, it's still important. We all need to take those steps of self-care to be able to give, right? You can't pour out of an empty cup, want, same old cliche statement, but it's so, so true. So
Yeah.
my last question that I would like to ask you is, can you tell us about the Thrive formula?
Yes, yes, definitely. I'll probably add one more to
Yes,
the
please do.
topic of before is learning how to say no.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you can learn how to say no, that would be, you know, very, very powerful because if you say no to someone, that means it's saying yes to yourself.
Hmm.
And if you're a person that just says yes to everything because you feel bad, you want to be nice, you don't want to hurt other people's feelings, in a way, you know, you're just adding more to your plate. So by saying no to someone else, you're saying yes to yourself. And you know, being, you know, doing self-care is not selfish. I just
No.
want to re-emphasize that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so the Thrive formula basically is a masterclass series. It's a program. It's an on-demand self-educational program that has 50 plus hours. I interview 45, 50, you know, speakers from, you know, all walks of life in the health and wellness industry. And it goes on the same theme of learning how to thrive. So it's a
Mhm.
program that I developed to really hone in on how to do that. So I've chosen, you know, 5 pillars. My 5 to Thrive is what I call, and we focus on food as medicine, functional fitness, community, resilience, and relationships.
Love it.
You know, going back to what you're saying, you know, it is super important that physical health is just as, you know, prioritized as emotional and mental health.
Hmm.
The pandemic has definitely brought that to light. I hope that it is no longer a taboo to talk about it. And to be honest with you, it's really about the mindset. I love using car analogies where, you know, your life is, you know, the journey, right? And your car is your body. The driver is you know, the mindset. And so you could have the best diet, you can be totally fit, right? Having, you know, a really nice car that functions well. But if you don't have the right mindset, you could easily steer off course, you know, just go off-roading, which may be fun, but, you know, sometimes, you know, if you don't have, you know, just the compass, the map, you know, you don't really know where to go and you're just constantly at every rest stop, right?
Hmm.
So basically the program is, you know, focusing on this on, you know, I interview so many people from physicians to coaches, dietitians, really, really people that have given their all in terms of, you know, their passions and really showing, letting other people know that it is important to live your life, gain the education, gain the tools, so you could have this to, you know, better your own life. And so we have culinary demos, we have fitness demos, we have scientific discussions. I've been able to have it accredited, so
Oh, nice.
MDs and nurses can get credits, continuing educations from it, credits from it. And it's a great program. It's a great program. And I would love to offer a 50% discount to your audiences.
Wow, that's
You know,
awesome.
yeah, for them to you know, get their feet wet. And yeah, it's important. I think that education is the next wave in terms of, you know, really, you know, setting yourself out there. I think you know, our traditional schooling system can only do what you can do. And even just looking back at my own school and training, you know, if it was enough, I wouldn't have gone through these detours.
Mm.
So it's really a culmination of everything that I've learned and experienced, and really handpicking and vetting out the people that, aligned with, that kind of, mindset. And it's something that I wish I had when
Mhm.
I was in school, so that's why I created it. So.
I love that. And I wholeheartedly agree with you about education, because if we are not growing and learning, we are in essence dying, right? So you have to continue to educate yourself. It's so important and it's exciting, right? Maybe if someone's not a nerd like us, it's not exciting, but I think it's super exciting. So Dr. Colin, if someone wants to find out more about you, where can they go?
Yeah, so I have two websites. So my first website is chefdoczhu.com, CHEF. DOCZHU.com. And then, the Thrive formula behind me is the Thrive formula. Thrive is spelled THR number 5, and that's .co. And I will, give, Michele the discount code, and whoever wants to, come on board and ask me questions. I'm very open to asking questions and answering them, being able to share resources. And it's really, we have to be able to kind of take back, our health. I talk a lot about starting in the kitchen. I talk a lot about, creating a thriving mindset, and just really having the tools, to really go out there. And, we can really be bombarded and oversaturated and distracted by so much noise. And so
Yes.
I want to be able to create a kind of create a credible resource for people. And, thank you so much for, having me here on the show.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. And I totally agree. One of the things that I tell clients all the time is you reclaim your freedom one bite at a time. And that's, once you start there, you're able to you're on fire. You just keep going. All right. That was Dr. Colin Zhu. If you guys want to learn more about him, I will put his information in the show notes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, they'll be in the description below. Make sure that you subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to this podcast. We're going to continue to deep dive in what it truly means to be healthy in all the facets of life. I hope you guys are well. Have a wonderful day. Bye.